And now, let me just check my audio. There we go. Okay, I can see the audio numbers move. All right, you guys got a really exciting. Let's just really quickly recap. Sorry about that. Now we have audio. We're good. I just opened OneNote on accident. All right, here we go. Okay. Okay, so yesterday, or Friday into the close, the deal here was the bulls popped in. The reason this was a big deal is because we were waiting for this position. This was a very high profile position. And I want you to remember something that I've talked about, and this is a big deal. If the thing that kills off trends is arrogance, when you have somebody coming in and they're willing to pay you and you're just too busy to show up for the free money, arrogance. I was very frustrated about this trade into Friday's close, or this condition, this liquidity. The bulls did nothing. Price didn't respond. The bears got a sample and drove it down into the close. We can see right here, there was absolutely an impact by the bullish position. It was impacting the market. So as far as I could tell, the bulls looked like this was a shakedown or a teeth. The problem that I was running into was that this was such a high profile position. We'd been waiting for days for this. It finally shows up and the bulls do nothing. And we knew that the bears were waiting, and the bears were like, you guys do nothing. We are algoing the crap out of the lows from before. That's what happened. And so let's take a look at I'm going to run through this real quick because I already wasted a bunch of time accidentally quietly doing this. The market pops up right back to that position, and when it falls down, the bears know. Right here, the bears know. They know that the bulls are not here. They're not going to defend. They should have had it pop up and then bought into this, and we gapped up. That's what the bulls should have done. They knew it in that moment, and so the market, of course, drifts up, and they just start right here. They start running algos, and I believe that what happened was the bulls were too busy. Oh, my back hurts. I can't show up to click a button and make a bunch of money. I can't do it. It's arrogance. And it's just too hard. This is what kills trends, is arrogance. When everything sets up, everything lines up, you've got people taking losses, people trapped. Arrogance kills trends. That was arrogant. The bears saw it, and they just frothed. And just look at the algorithms that they were running. You can see these things. You don't need to be a professional or have tons of experience to know these are some nasty algorithms running. They just hit because they saw that arrogance in the bulls. It frustrates the heck out of me to wait for those types of things, to spend days looking over markets, and then the bulls are just, oh, I'm too busy. I got to go eat some grapes or something. So this morning, the market gives us a zero test. This is where no matter what the bulls think, if they don't defend probabilities, they are going to lose the major trend. And as far as I'm concerned, the arrogance that they showed on Friday already lost it in my head. It's that behavior, and I've seen it before, and it makes me mad because I like to be bullish. I tend to be bullish, and it really drives me nuts to see them do that. So the first thing that happens, we get the bulls to pop in right here. There's the trapped orders. The signal here was daily tensions zero test. So this was a zero test. Now, one of the issues with this zero test is I really like to see zero tests where the tension's been up for a couple days and then tests. I prefer that. But looking at this as though this is trapped and then the scenario that happened yesterday, to me, this zero test matters. If the bulls are going to be arrogant and then give up daily tension, good night, the trend is over. Well, it's not that it's over. We're bearish. So this is a big deal to me. We pop in, we see the bulls, again, defending. The probabilities are not moving down. Price isn't amazing out of it. The bears, you see decay, pops up. We have a bearish position right here. They are face to face. Okay, and the reason that the bears are interested in this is because they've seen that attitude that is just common when bullish trends end. And I think that's what's motivating them. You could see right here, daily tension, or sorry, 30-minute tension, the bears hit. And you could see, yeah, there was a little bit of this going on, but they hit here, and there's the response. The bears are here. Luckily, the daily tension is a big deal. I think that the bulls don't want to lose control of the market. And so we see a little bit of difficulty in getting this down much further than a little bit through the position. They are defending their probabilities. They don't really want to lose control of the trend. Nobody, I mean, that's a big deal. Missing a good trade is just irritating. But losing control of the trend, that's not good. After that, what we look at here is, where are the bulls, where are the bears? So through the morning, the thinking here is, well, if we just sort of draw that out, there could be a bearish sample here, slows down, could be a bearish sample here, slows down here. So it's been inching its way up to sample the bears, it never did here. What happened was the market leaned down while rising, and the bulls get a sample here. And take a look at this. There's no real impact here, right up into these highs, and then pop that up, and the bears had some volume right here. Again, face to face. These traders are just on top of each other. They are fighting. This looks to me like tooth and nail fighting. And if I had to guess, I'd say the bulls are idiots and the bears are doing everything they can to take advantage of that mistake that they made on Friday. I don't know what it was. Going home early because whatever. I don't know. The point is, the bulls made a mistake on Friday. They were too arrogant to come in. All they had to do was a little bit. And the bears are now here and they are fighting them tooth and nail for this. That's what I think's going on. So you could see the character once we get the character of decay. You see that, how that we have this sort of character in decay? It's got this move. It changes. You could see it looks a little different. And I think this is some heavy fighting by the bears. I think the bears see it and they really want it. So moving from there, not much happens. Again, everything leans down. These bears are hungry, and every time the bulls come in, the bears are right there in their faces. You have to understand, why would the bears be so interested? And I think their interest comes from the fact that this high-profile position that I was waiting for days, just, they didn't care. And I think the bears have an edge in this right here. Sure, the bulls came in and defended probabilities. Sure, it's up right here. But right now, I think basically what the bears are doing is saying, you messed up, we gotcha, let's do this. And so they're giving it their all. They're pulling out the stops. And by that, I mean they're really putting the capital into the market. And that's what I think is going on right now. We are looking at the bears doing what they can to get this into their hands. And there's two things that bears are looking for. The first is, how far can we drive this down before we trigger the bulls again, which did a great job here. And the bulls came in and, popped it back up, and the bears are down here again. If the bears could gap this down again, get daily tension right down here under zero, get 30-minute down to zero again, and that they could totally pull that off, and it would sort of pressure those bulls again. But I mean, you got to realize they're turning over some major positions to do that. The bulls can't just let them do this over and over and over. It destroys the structure of the market, clearly. So it looks to me like these bulls, that's a half-ass position if you ask me. And then turning it over, come on, bulls. This looks like they're struggling again. Yeah, they showed up. Yeah, they knocked it up. But the bears knocked it back down. They knocked it back down. It's like, where's your follow-through, bulls? Where is it? What do you need, an invitation? So again, what are you doing, bulls? And I don't see much. Let's take a look at the options really quick here. Move my face. and get an idea of what's going on here in the options world. We have some in the money calls going on here. Sorry, out of the money calls going on. Those are OTM. These are people probably buying calls thinking the market's going to bounce straight back up. And the problem is, there's no counter position. They didn't get into a long, drive it up and then hedge or something. This to me looks like likely hedging bears. Anyone who shorted over the last couple days is finally in a beautiful position to hedge their position, which means this type of thing is creating a ton of downside pressure on the market, because if prices rise, who's going to pay for that? They hedged. So not the bears. This is downside pressure. That's what that is. That's what this looks like to me. There's a bunch of people who shorted at these prices, and they finally got a nice hedge they could get into for cheap, out of the money. That's cheap. As far as puts go, there's some out of the money puts over here. Not all that interested in this stuff. There is one in the money put right here. And if we flip this back to here, if you saw that, and that in the money put was about here, potentially these are, hedging each other, and that's what created the upside resistance here. But I mean, this is a lot. That's like, it's less than five. It's about 5,000. And this one they hedged with 1,000. I mean, just looking at the sizes here, it's like clearly the bears are in a much better position than the bulls are, if we just look at the sheer hedging of this whole situation. So I'm not liking this. The bulls need to do more. They need a little bit more structure. They need to show they have a backbone. This doesn't look like backbone trading to me. This looks like the bulls are not the bulls anymore. It looks like the institutions are the bears. And I don't like it. I didn't like the move down on Friday. It kind of popped back up, but once it got established, it was pretty clear the bears are going to do their best. So what's coming up next? The very next thing that must happen for these bears is they need to pump tension. That's always the case. And pumping tension in this case is not just so to pump tension, to remember, you pump. You need to trap in, I don't know why I did a G, and liquidate the counterparty. So in this case, of course, the bulls. So they need to trap in a bullish position, and they need to liquidate that, which, if you're paying attention, bullish position here, market's moving down, their stops are going to be around here. This little range business going on. They're going to put their stops down here, and they're going to get hit right about here. And you can see these bulls got wrecked. So to continue this down, they're going to have to trap more bulls. This position here is a little bit bigger. It's going to be tough to use that one for an intraday purposes, especially since we have a smidge of a hedge over here, which is going to create some upside force. It'll be a little bit more difficult to keep this down right now until they trap in some more bulls. But the point is, the objective right now, the market is looking at, how do we get some bulls in here to drive this under zero with daily tension under zero, give us a good old-fashioned trend cap, and see if the bears can pump the market down over the next day or two. That's what these bears are looking at. That's what they want. So we need a bullish position tomorrow. And that bullish position is going to be what funds the push down here. So remember that this has a little bit of a hedge. There's some upside, which means overnight, this is going to have a difficult time moving down without some cash injection. So they would need some bearish injection into the market, or a trapped bulls. And there's no trapping that goes on overnight. For the most part, they can run some algos like they did yesterday, but I don't think they're going to do that. Or we wait till tomorrow. So I think this is going to provide some support for the overnight market because it's hedged. We liquidated this group here. They're not holding anymore. So tonight, the market's probably going to hang out. It could pop up, it could do things, but the objective at the open is find some bulls, trap them in, use that trap. Let's say they catch bulls here, use that trap to get down through this supportive position that's come in from the daily. That's going to happen. That's where we are. This is going to provide us some support. It's going to have a hard time staying under there until that we have somebody on the backside. So I'm not sure that I'm quite bullish on this yet. I'm not calling this a bear trend, but I'm recognizing the fact that this is creating some support, and that may ennoble a bunch of bulls to say, okay, here it is, here's our support, and they just drive it up overnight. I would not be short right now overnight. If you're short here, something like that, you got the situation. We're probably not going to see anything lower than this throughout the night. We're going to be looking for that tomorrow. So most likely we see this pop up a little bit, or at least a little bit sideways, and we see what this can do. If the bulls just decided they wanted to be a huge pain in the butt, which they have been, and that this is the low because of the support here, that could motivate some bulls to come in. And that's why I'm thinking, we're leaning a little bit more to the upside overnight for tomorrow. But I'm not quite to the point where I'm like, yeah, bulls are going to buy into this, especially since we saw them basically get wiped out today. And all of the crap that they've been doing drives me nuts. And I think the bears are still motivated. So be careful. Be careful. These bears are hungry. Tomorrow morning, this is what you need to look for. We're going to be watching if the market opens, here, something like that. Keep your eye. Velocity's probably going to open, here. You want to look for that bullish sample. You need to see the bulls play. Do not front run a position you haven't seen successful. Don't jump in there and assume the bulls are going to hit, because the bears are in a pretty decent position right now. It's going to be more expensive to drive this up because they let the bears hedge. Oh my gosh, why did they do that? So don't get too excited. We got to see them trapping some bears. For me, what I'm waiting for is I want to see the market pop up, shoot up, see this, come down. We see some bulls come in, and I want to see them trap them. I'd like to see them liquidate those people. And then I say, okay, the bulls are here again. And then I'll play after you show me you're here. I'm not going to do this like try to front run this group that looks great, and then they do this again. And they do it again and again. Something else to pay attention to, and this is a little bit broader, but okay, so you get the intraday. We need to see the bulls actually participate before you do that. Otherwise, I'm going to be very skeptical of bullishness, because I think the bears really, really want this. The second thing to pay attention to is going to be watching this indicator. This one's going to be a little bit more important because of the conditions that we have in the market. So you come up to the live charts, this one right here. When the bears get really enthusiastic, one of the first things they run into is that bulls have a tendency to be able to pull off upward moves without too much impact here. But when bears get enthusiastic, they tend to have a much bigger impact on the stat ADI. Okay, so this running down and getting down to here. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but just keep this in mind. This is going to be an indicator you're going to want to pay attention to as the bears seem hungry and enthusiastic. Keep your eye on this one. When that stat ADI gets under the 35-ish area like that, it becomes unsustainable, meaning this can't stay down here. It's not going to stay down. The stat ADI will come back up. Don't get too crazy. This is a little bit longer term, so we can see price come down, the stat ADI turns back up, and we could see, a positive divergence type thing where price comes down and the stat ADI stays up, and then they buy into that type of thing. So make sure, just don't jump on the first thing, but this is going to model out how the bears are doing in terms of being able to continue and push down and what's in front of them. This one. This is going to be important tomorrow morning if the bears can pop that down through there. I assume that if this goes red tomorrow along with this, that this is going to be running hot, and it's going to start to put some upside pressure, and the bears are going to have to deal with that pressure. This is what's in front of the bears right now. So watch these two together tomorrow. you know, we've seen this kind of thing a lot. This is what to pay attention to. All right, so that's where we are. Hopefully this gives you a good idea. I think overnight we're going to see some support out of the market because of where we're at, because I think this one got a little bit of hedging. It's going to have a hard time making a major move up because of the bears hedging. They've gotten to positions that means that the market, if prices get up to like here overnight, all of a sudden the market, the SPY, the ES, these guys will become liable to pay because there's no bears, they're hedged. So the market's like, well, we don't want to pay you. So I think it's going to suppress the upside move. There's the potential for upside is not going to be much. So I think, you know, an open that's not as dramatic, you know, near the close there, is what I'm anticipating for tomorrow. And then we got to see that set up. Just begging you, make sure that you can see them participating and getting what you expect before you try to hop in and jump in as though the bulls are going to come riding in here as heroes when the bears are so motivated. As far as I could tell, if I was a huge institution, and I've been long ever since the first stimulus check from Trump, I wouldn't give a crap if the bears drove this down another 100 points. That looks great. I'd buy into that like crazy on debt. So you have to remember there are some massive positions from very long time ago that are just fine with the market cratering 100 points. That's just nothing. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Please make sure you see them play. There's evidence before you decide that you know what's going to happen next. That's that. I hope this helps with you guys building an expectation for overnight. I'll be back tomorrow to see how this story develops. See you later, guys.